Hi YouTube family, it's Daughter of the Most High. I am watching a video of an interview with Dr. Laura Sanger, and it's on Behind the Curtain PC. That's a small channel on Rumble. And of course the interview is so interesting because Dr. Laura is a wealth of information. The title of the video is Nephilim, Nazis, and Now with Dr. Laura Sanger. And when did they post this? Hang on a second. 15 hours ago. So I'm just listening to it now. I'm at just about the 16-minute mark. And I'm just appalled by what Dr. Laura just shared. And I'm going to play it for you, and then I'm going to just make a comment about that, because it's something that it just so repulses me. So I had a request to share some information, videos about the Nephilim agenda, and this is only an hour-long video, so it's really good. It's concise, and I just find her work so incredibly interesting. And it amazes me how, and I shared this before, how I used to just dismiss Genesis 6 and the Nephilim, and I just thought, okay, that was a weird time in history, and didn't think anything of it. And here there is a thread all through the years associated from that time to this. And Dr. Laura is really good at connecting those dots through the years. But I went from dismissing something to being so intrigued by this. And so I'm really grateful that the Lord led me to her work. So I'm going to go ahead and just play a couple minutes of what she's saying here at just about the 16 mark, and then I'm going to make some comments. And then look for the link in the description.
Well, then in 1939, Hitler established this program called the Reich.
When it comes to
children,
we're what they call
a commercial.
Committee for the Scientific Registration of Serious Hereditary and Congenital Diseases. So its purpose was essentially to kill infants and young children that either had birth defects or congenital diseases. So what you have is, under this, Nazi regime, midwives, they were required to file reports on every child that was born. And then doctors were required to file reports on every child under the age of 3. So those children who were deemed either, defective or disabled in any way, they were then killed. And this was part of the Nazi eugenics program. Well, another book I came across is called Hitler's Monsters by Eric.
I'm going to stop there. So in 1939, in Germany, you heard what this program, and I was thinking, because I have a son that has a cyst in his brain, and he has right side partial paralysis. And so if he had been born in this time and place, my son would have been killed. Now, my son looked like a normal, healthy baby, and his physical impairment did not become apparent until he was, coming up on, it could have been discovered at 6 months, but there were some errors on the part of his doctor as far as testing. And so my son's dad, who is now my ex, and I started to notice things when our son was closer to 8 months old. And so it would have been at that time that it became apparent that our son, we did not know he had a cyst in his brain, but we knew that he wasn't using his arms equally, and normally he is partially paralyzed on the right side. So I'm thinking, as a parent of a child that would have been killed by these people, how did this go? Because they're filing reports on these kids and babies And when it became apparent that they had any kind of disability or, flaw, impairment of some sort, that they would kill them. So if I'm, I have the appointment and they find out, my son has, a difference in his sides, and they probably don't even care what it's from. They just know that there's something wrong. And so what do? Come to my house and take him and kill him? I mean, can you imagine this for these people? It's so horrible. And the Nephilim agenda, the Nazis, other Satan followers, this is the devil's, how we have the mind of Christ as believers, or we're working towards that, and we want to receive that downloads from God so that we can be more like Christ and less like our fleshly selves. And these are downloads from Satan. We are changed from glory to glory, and they are changed too, but it's from darkness to darkness. And so the Nephilim, and the Nephilim host, the Nazis, Satanists, Illuminati, Freemasons, all of them. And there seems to be a subgroup, but they do have the mind of Satan, a subgroup of people that are obsessed with perfection, physical perfection, and of course intellect as well. But what if they have, someone like my son, let's say he had a very high level of intelligence, but had a physical impairment, like that one guy that didn't believe in God, and his spine was very curved. I can't recall his name. It was like Steve something, and he died in the last year or two. But so he's near genius or genius level, but because he had the physical impairment, he too would have been killed as a baby. And actually, as part of the population that they're going to keep of the fight, when they reduce the population to 500 million, which is pretty small compared to what we have on the earth now, they want to keep people that are very intelligent and have some area of gifting, like Elon Musk, and maybe doctors and surgeons and dentists and whoever else, scientists and inventors and all those people that are so gifted. And they want to keep them. But sometimes those people don't all, grow up in a perfectly healthy body, as was my example. But yeah, they do want to keep those elites. Anyway, this is so disturbing to me because, again, had I been born, or had we lived in that time and my son been born in that time, they would have taken my son from me. And, as a new mother with a firstborn son, I adored him to absolute pieces, both my children, but I'm talking about my firstborn right now. And I cannot imagine my own devastation when they come to the door and, we realize that his, right side is weaker than his left side, so there's something wrong with him, and we need to take your child. And who knows how they even kill him? I don't even know. I'm not sure that anybody that has this mentality is. I always think if animals or people have to die, do it humanely. The suffering and the terror that our poor animals, our cows and horses and pigs and everything go through prior to, on the way to slaughter and during slaughter is horrible. It should not be that way. God never intended for our animals to be treated so abusively at the end of their lives. And now it's their entire lives because of factory farming. So I just wonder how they did that. What did they do? Earlier in this, I've just watched now, coming up on 17 minutes, that there was another time, and I don't recall what Dr. Laura said, but that any baby that had any type of obvious disability or impairment, I believe she said, was just set out on a hill to die. It, the I so appreciate her wealth of information. I do. She is such a gift, and God has so gifted her in her ability to both study and research and to speak. And so we are so blessed to have Dr. Laura and the abilities God put in her. But I'm so appalled with some of this information that she shares that has gone on in history. It I can hardly wrap my mind around it. But again, it's people that follow the enemy of our soul. And so they become like him, just like we become like Christ. But I feel like I'm on a soapbox because this is something that just so bothers me and hurts my heart. And my heart hurts for those women women and men, mothers and fathers that had their baby taken from them because their baby had some type of issue. And so they come to the house and, maybe right at birth, or if it becomes apparent later on, like with my son. I just can't even imagine this. So I'm horrified once again by human behavior. But anyway, this is so interesting, and I know I have some people on my channel that are very interested in learning more about this, and Dr. Laura is the champ. So look for the link in the description, fam, and I will see you soon.